So the Labour Party's idea of change, I think, is a nightmare, to be perfectly frank.
Chris, I think we can go to our reporter, Tony Maguire, who's in Durham, because he's been joined by a former GBNews employee, but newly elected Reform County Councillor, Darren Grimes.
Hello, good afternoon. Well, certainly we're here in Durham and I'm joined by a face you all know, Darren. Welcome back to GBNews. No, this is a huge day. Congratulations on winning your seat. Tell me, what is it like in there, you know, shoulder to shoulder with all your former colleagues?
Listen, I was knocking on doors only the other day and a fella invited me in and he had GBNews on and he said that GBNews has been a strength and stay in keeping them sane throughout an insane period for our country. So, you know, I think GBNews ought to pat itself on the back for that. But look, it's been so lovely to receive so many well wishes as well from viewers of the channel who I think have quite missed cheeky banter and all the rest of it. There's going to be a bit less of that. I've got to be serious now, you know, and we are serious about delivering for people. It's been really humbling to actually receive the support of so many, and now we've got to deliver for them.
I mean, there's no denying the numbers in there today. I think with my last check, there's about 35 seats called, 25 of them Reform. Now, that's over halfway to being a Reform-controlled council. What are the people in Durham and in the North East here, what do you think is behind their change and their faith in Reform?
I think actually the Labour Party said with a smile on their faces that if you elect them, you'd get change. Well, what change have we had? Mass migration. We're now putting in illegal migrants in rented accommodation whilst you struggle to get a house. And the net zero obsession, putting up energy bills to some of the highest in the Western world. I think it's a damn disgrace that in a country like Britain, we can't house our own and we can't keep our own warm. So the Labour Party's idea of change, I think, is a nightmare, to be perfectly frank. We at Reform do promise change, and that change is going to mean getting the auditors in on day one of being in charge, if we are lucky enough and fortunate enough to be in charge of the council, and we'll get the auditors in to ensure that a very stretched pound in your pocket is delivered in the best way possible, because right now I think there's an awful lot of waste and inefficiency on that council.
And just tell me then, so if Reform gets that council, in fact we almost have to take a step back here and look at the picture across England today, because there's only one colour that, as you know, appearing in a lot of those boards, and it's the same colour that's on your rosette there. Is this the start of an earthquake, it was called by one of the presenters this morning? But, you know, people sitting at home on the fence, is this, they're going to be looking at this thinking, you know, or what will they be thinking?
Look, they'll be thinking, wow, it's a turquoise blue tidal wave, because that's exactly what it is. But it's not one done for grandstanding or playing party politics. It's about actually delivering for people, because I'm deeply concerned about apathy at the ballot box. So many people have voted for change and been given the complete opposite. We need to deliver for them in a genuine way that gets stuff done. If we don't do that, we will fail. So they'll hold us to account, I've no doubt, but we need to deliver not just for ourselves, but also for the sanctity of the ballot box, because from everything from Brexit to mass migration, we have been failed and betrayed, and Reform need to be the antidote to that.
Darren, thank you very much. Congratulations again on your seat. Good luck with the rest of the day. Certainly the story here in Durham is one that we're seeing spread right across England today, that turquoise wave, and people like Darren here very happy to be surfing it.
Absolutely. Tony Maguire, thank you very much. And do send our congratulations to Darren, the big smile on his face, of course. It's a big moment for the Reform Party, but now they've got to prove that they can actually get results on a local level, which isn't always that easy, is it?
Having power is hard. It's easy to chip in from the sidelines, being a protest party against the establishment.
Have you been getting a load of spam in your email recently? What about random calls? It's really annoying, isn't it? Data brokers are out there collecting your personal information. Anything from your email, your full name, your address, and even your political affiliation. Cyber criminals can even use AI to mimic the voices of friends and family to trick people into sending them money. And it gets even worse. People out there are getting huge loans taken out in their names without even knowing about it. But don't worry, because the sponsor of this video, Incogni, can help. They reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information is removed from their databases. Incogni continues to make sure that your data is removed automatically from the internet via repeated removal requests. So, how can you get started? Well, step 1, hit the link in the description. Create an Incogni account and tell us whose data you'd like removed. Step 2, grant Incogni the right to work on your behalf. Step 3, sit back, relax, and watch Incogni work. They will update consistently so you know when your data has been removed. Incogni is risk-free for 30 days, so you can try it for yourself and you'll get a free refund if the service isn't for you. So take back your personal data today with Incogni. Use the code GBNews using the link in the description below and you'll get 60% off an annual payment plan.
But actually doing stuff now. Andrea Jenkins there in Greater Lincolnshire, another MP to take them to 5 MPs in Reform UK, and now 2 county councils. They'll be challenged. There'll be critics watching what they do, seeing how they're spending money. We know that Nigel Farage wants to send in these Doge accountants, but 80% of council spending is defined by law. You can't mess around there. So it's around 20% of spending you can play with. Should you spend money on DEI or massage chairs?
Oh, really? So there's only 20% you can play with?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but that will be scrutinised by those are choices to be made by this government, and also cooperation. What will Nigel Farage do? We want to cooperate with the Tories at local level.
And we're just hearing now that Reform could end up running Nottinghamshire County Council. There are 25 more results to go, but Reform currently on 23 councillors already, and the Tories are on 12. They are now the only 2 parties who could possibly run the council, and the local reporters there saying that Reform could do so comfortably. Emily, this is coming after quite a remarkable set of results, especially in the last hour or so.
So that's a Tory v Reform battle there in Nottinghamshire. Very interesting. But we've had a lot of election results in now, so I'm going to ask our political editor, Christopher Hope, going to put you on the spot for a little bit of a recap on what we know so far. So we're all in the same place.
OK, here we go. What we know so far is Reform have an extra MP, Sarah Pochin in Runcorn and Helsby. That's a massive deal. The party won it by 6 votes overnight, the closest since records began really counting this way in 1945. They've also won 2 other county councils, Staffordshire and Lincolnshire. And as you say, we're looking towards Nottingham at the moment. So this kind of blue wall, red wall is now a teal wall, if that's the colour that Reform UK operate under. The Labour did win West of England by 6,000 votes. Again, a big turnout, 205,000 were voted there. North Tyneside, Doncaster also held by Labour, but in a few hundred. I mean, a real blow here. A real worry, I think, for the Labour Party. Keir Starmer, he says his response is we'll go faster, quicker, engineer more change. But I think this vote from people today is saying they don't believe that Labour is the change they want, and they're voting in numbers for Reform UK.
Yeah, we were discussing his way of doing things, Keir Starmer. Does he make the right decisions optically as well as, policy-wise? We were talking about how he chose to go to a defence contractor and have pre-prepared questions given to him. I mean, you were there. I
was there. Well, yes, I mean, he has questions from... Some of them were written down by some of the young apprentices, others weren't, so some were prepared, but some weren't. But it did feel very controlled. Nigel Farage doesn't do controlled. He goes out there and gets milkshake chucked on him, and that is recognised as authentic, I think, by voters. But the Tories are the same. They have this protected way. Security is obviously a big deal. Farage has security, but he somehow seems to be amongst the people more. I don't know why the PM was a defence company the day after elections. Why wasn't he in Bristol, where he could say, I've seen off the threat from Aaron Banks, I've seen off Reform, let's take the fight to reform Labour. He didn't do that. He answered questions about defence, which is very important on a normal day. Today is not a normal day. Today is an existential challenge to the 2 main parties.
Well, be it a school, be it a local business, be it a library, wherever else.
Yeah, some really interesting results coming out from Lancashire as well, and Burnley in particular. We're seeing here now that Cosima Townley, who was the Labour cabinet member for children and families, has lost her seat to Reform in Burnley Rural. In 2021, she had a 1,600 majority, but then in Burnley North East, we've had the second of 2 so far independent candidates elected there. Christopher Hope, Usman Arif, with 59% of the vote for an independent candidate there. Previously, we had Maheen Kamran, an 18-year-old aspiring medical student, with 1,350 of the votes there. Labour losing seats to Reform, but also to independents, sort of pro-Casa voters, as
Which is a big issue.
To.
What we're seeing as a cohort within Parliament now, 5 or so independent MPs. Overall, as we sit this lunchtime, 1:44, 273 councillors for Reform, up 273 is the challenger party. Tories down to 94, down 225. Lib Dems up 34 to 81. Independents down 18 to 27. Labour down 73 to 23. Greens up 9 to 15. It is Reform's night and day.
Oh, it's a bad one for the Conservatives, isn't it?